Hello and welcome to the Thursday show here on the Frontline Gaming Network. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri
Evening, everybody.
and Dustin Henshaw.
Evening.
I mixed up the directions on that. So look,
everybody watching this is now completely confused. Nobody knows who we actually are. But you guys listening, you got the benefit this week. This week you got
I'd
lucky.
like to think that we got some new listeners, and I want to also tell people if you're new here, we do this live. This is your weekly show where we talk about the biggest and most awesome tournaments coming up over the weekend, and this week is no exception. We have some absolute stellar things to talk about happening this weekend. If you're going to be there, if you happen to be going to these things and are listening at the same time, throw some comments in the chat. We want to hear from you, hear what you're taking, what you're expecting to see, maybe why you made some of the decisions you made. And yeah, if you're listening to this after the fact, we do this live every single Thursday where we take comments from the chat. We talk to the folks in the chat, but also we talk to you about, again, these tournaments that are coming up. And we got some mega tournaments happening this weekend, including one hosted by Frontline Gaming Network.
What an awesome network.
It is pretty insane that we are, we're less than a month into the new season. We might be exactly on a month now into the new season, and we've got we've got a multiple 100-player team event in the UK. We've got a almost 200-player teams event in Spain. We've got an almost 200-player event, like we said, by Frontline Gaming in the States, and it's just nuts. Absolutely nuts, guys.
Yeah,
you guys are
starting to open
insatiable.
up, and everybody just the floodgates are open, like you were saying earlier, and it's awesome to see this finally. All these tournaments just happening everywhere all at the same time.
Yep.
I can't
love
wait
it.
for more.
I want to see the list.
Yeah,
I want to see the list that people are bringing. I want to see the tech that comes out. I want to see people how they've responded to this. By now, we have a pretty mature and established meta, and I say that it's the meta is 3 weeks old, but that's what is that, like 47 years and 40k days.
Yeah, but we had 3 weeks of a new mission pack, but we had like a month's lead time before that 3 weeks, knowing what people were going to be having. People would have had, their in their army builder, whatever they were using, probably had 3 or 4 stocked up lists ready to go into the new season. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, new missions, Custodes, I think probably still the list to beat in a lot of people's mind. Drukari's still out there, so again, people know Crusher Stampede, things like that, or they know they exist. How are they approaching it? And so let's just, we have a monster show to go over this week. So let's just jump into it. What are people bringing here to the Cherokee Open? That's the first event we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to start going through the breakdown?
Yeah, man.
Right now?
189
Let's
players,
do it.
9 rounds in North Carolina. Here in the U.S.
Crazy.
All right. So the Imperial Super Faction, we have 6 sisters, 27 custodes, 1 AdMech, 1 Astra Militarum, 7 Grey Knights, 4 Imperial Knights. Now, even if custodes aren't the army to beat, which they are definitely one of them for sure, you have to be able to beat them because chances are you're going to play them at least once or twice, at least. Even with 189 players, 9 rounds, like you're going to play them.
To put it into perspective, there are more Custodes players than there are Hivemind and Eldari super factions combined. Just putting it out there.
Well, that is one answer to how people are going to respond to the meta is they will be the meta.
They will be the meta.
Lean in.
Just lean into it. Come on. That's one way to do it for sure. Hey, it's an answer. So Space Marine Super Faction, there are 10 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 4 Blood Angels, 1 Ultramarine, 2 Salamanders, 4 Black Templar, 1 Raven Guard, 1 White Scar, 3 Iron Hands. Dark Angels starting to make a huge jump now.
Dude, only Imperial Fist lacking from that spread, I'll point out. That spread is pretty holistic.
Hey, look, if I had an air horn, I would play it right now because White Scars represent the first time we've seen them in a major in several weeks, maybe even a couple of months at this point. People opting for different, I guess, fast-moving, hard-hitting type units. But something we don't always talk about though is that best faction award is up for grabs now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so at these big tournaments, you can get a lot of points for some of those sub categories for victories, and I bet people are have that on their mind as they go into this.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Chaos Super Faction, we have 2 Chaos Suit, 3 Chaos Space Marines, 6 T-Suns, 6 Death Guard, 1 Demons, and 3 Renegade Knights. I like seeing T-Suns starting to get a bit of a rise. We usually saw them hovering around 1 or 2 or 0. I like seeing them on par with Death Guard again. That makes me a little happy because I still feel like they're strong, especially in the current meta.
on par with Sisters, just one behind Grey Knights now. Like they're looking at they're about where they are. They're one of the upper middle factions, and they're one of the upper middle numbers as well.
I actually feel like they can have a decent matchup into Tau. To be honest, that's what I feel like they could, because the amount of more wound output and some durability that tricks that they have. I feel like they could.
One prediction I have, if the meta stays the way it is and we have this like flood of Custodes being prevalent for so long, people are going to start teching, the Custody players are going to start teching for each other, which means Shadow Keepers, which means T-Suns get so much better into Custodes as soon as Custodes aren't playing Emperor's Chosen. So there could be like a really cool little lift for them just around the corner.
Explain that just a little bit if you can. Like what do you think is that shift if they do start, if the Custodes have to move a certain way?
Yeah, so Custodes right now, the Emperor's Chosen build is the best build into the field, but it's not the best build into the mirror match. The best build in the mirror match is the kind of bully Shadow Keepers. Like if Shadow Keepers goes into Emperor's Chosen, the Shadow Keepers I would say would be something like a 65-75% win chance, depending on who goes first and what mission. Dustin, would you back that up?
100%. The Shadow Keepers is so much better in the mirror match, and even against some of the lists, like it's actually better into Crusher Stampede as well.
That's true.
Even anything that has mass attack, which there's a couple things out there, maybe orcs, maybe some Drukhari builds. It's actually better into that too. Even with the -1 strength, can be really big against some matchups. It's not as good into like obviously T-Suns and Tau. It can be okay, but it's the mirror is the important thing. When you're going to see that many other Custodes on the field, you know you're going to be playing the mirror match a couple of times, and having that advantage, is it worth taking that advantage to be a little bit worse into some other armies? Because it's not even that much worse, to be honest.
To win those engagements, you get in. If all things being equal, if you took the exact same things, you will come out ahead.
Exactly.
Because of that
so. And what we're saying that it's a twofold interaction there. Firstly, the Shadow Keepers have a permanent -1 attack with engagement range, like when they're targeted in the fight phase, -1 attack, huge into the mirror. You just have one more attack than your Custodes enemy, and so you are just a better version of them in that game. In addition, you have the -1 strength against non-vehicle units, so not on the Dreads anymore. But it is quite impactful because you can transhuman against some melter shots, and then you can -1 strength into other melter shots. So, sorry, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but that's another big tool, like you said, against Tau, -1 strength, and it'll make you feel a lot better. All the strength 7 shots from Tau going down to strength 6 into the Praetor bikes makes a huge difference. You don't have to spend the CP for the transhuman. You've got 2 transhumans in effect. So there are a lot of advantages there. But sorry, we're probably gone on enough.
Yeah, we got a lot to go through, so we'll keep going here.
No, it is, but it's like again, one of our things that we like to talk about is what you're going to see, and then how to beat it, like and how to anticipate for the next one. That's what this data does: is provide us with all this valuable information about maybe how people can out there just construct your list, what they should be thinking about the next tournament, even if they're not heading to this one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've actually proved a few times, people agree with us. We actually make some good points sometimes. We kind of know what we're talking about. Right?
So, who would have thought?
I want to give a what's up to the RPG Luminary and Dan in the chat. Thanks a lot for sounding off, letting us know that you're hanging out there. Want to know what anybody else is doing tonight if you happen to be watching us live. And we also had a comment like, hey, why don't you do more looking back to some of your predictions from the previous shows? And look, I'm just going to tell you, we're most of the time right. We don't have to look back. We know what we say.
We just assume we're right. Yeah, we're right. We know we're right. And the times we aren't right, it's outweighed by the times we are, so we don't need to talk about those.
No, the chat can keep us honest. The chat can let us know when we're going too far off base, but I think what y'all actually just did there was absolutely amazing and predictive of what we're going to see in several weeks.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So, moving on with this one, still in the Cherokee Open, the Xeno Super Faction, there are 11 Necrons, 9 Orcs, and 16 Tau. Not surprising on the Tau. Xeno Super Faction is actually really getting a huge rise in these tournaments right now.
Just wait.
Just wait.
I'm hugely excited to see Necrons on the rise. Like, I think people have got a reinvigoration into trying and testing them into the new missions, and that's pretty much what I think is indicative of them being the third most represented faction when we get to it.
Necrons are taking like all kind of the close combat variants. Are taking, you've seen heavy destroyers making it on the field and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so, the Necrons, I think, have gotten over the fact that their character models did not get a reduction in cost, and they're like, well, how are we going to deal with it? And they're starting to.
That's the thing, Paul. Their best one did. Their best character went down 30 points, the Silent King. And in addition to that, the things that he can now affect have gone up by like 2/3. So maybe that's it.
Yep, they're just really focusing on what they've got now, and we're seeing them make their way to the field.
Yeah, for sure. The Necrons are they haven't figured out their build for sure yet because they're still kind of testing a lot of things with all these changes. Like, but they're obviously excited about it. And one thing we know for sure, destroyers are a big part of it. So
Yes, agreed.
Hive Mind Super Faction. There's 1 Hive Mind, 6 Tyranids, and 7 GSC. We outnumber the Tyranids. We did it. The Cherokee is doing it right. I love this. I love seeing so many GSC here.
I noted that as a milestone because I think that's the first time in 9th edition that I've seen that happen in an event.
It is.
It's only by 1. It's not huge, but it's the thing, and maybe it's going to be a trend.
Hey, it happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
It happened once.
At least
it
once.
only needs to happen once. That's all. That's all it needs to happen.
Yeah. The window.
The window. There it is. The Eldari Super Faction, 1 Eldari, 7 Drukhari, 2 Harlequins, and 2 Suriani. So that brings us up to the faction podium of Custodes at 27, number 1, not surprising. Tau, number 2, not surprising at 16. But Necrons, number 3 on the podium at 11.
That may be the first time that we've seen them be able to get one of these honors of being on the faction podium.
It's been
in a almost 200 player event.
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a good 6 months. Like maybe the first couple of episodes we did, Necrons were on a podium in Central Europe and places like that. I seem to remember. But then completely unheralded. But now they're back in a big way. We'll see if they stick around, boys. But how do you guys feel about
against Necrons? Though? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
There's 11 more Custodes than the next list.
Yeah.
Than the next.
They got it going for them though. Okay, Custodes, stout. Into you can play. You don't have a lot of bad matchups. They travel friendly. You don't have a lot of models. For that, so it's easy to get that hobby lag out of the way.
Yep. It's not decision intensive. It's a quick game. It's pretty elegant. It's pretty easy.
It's a relaxing game to play. I think. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's relaxing.
Yeah, I think you don't get drowned in decision making.
With fewer pieces, your margin for error with each one of those decisions is magnified. Or the margin for error is slim, and every error you make is magnified. So we're not trying to say that it's easier, but it has a lot going for it if you're going to be traveling to one of these major events. But at the same time, it's also kind of powerful. Noah Bodome is checking in the chat, says stoked to be taking the Shadow Keepers to his grand tournament this weekend. Well,
see, there you go. We're ready for that mirror match.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, gents. I'll tell you 2 of the lists I pulled out. As we do have a bunch of events going on in this episode, I only pulled out 2 lists per event or per 2 teams per event. This first one is Mr. Mark Perry. I wanted to see what he was doing with Orcs going into this new kind of meta, this new mission pack, and I was quite interested to see what he was doing. He's got a Goss, Supreme Command, Spearhead, and Vanguard. Supreme Command, you know what's going on there. He's got Makari and Gaz.
That section writes itself once you click on that.
Exactly right.
Yeah, pretty much figure out the rest of it.
He's got a Weird Boy. He's got a Knob with War Banner. He's got 3 Squighog Boys, 2 Battle Wagons, 3 times 3 Killer Cans. So 3 into 3 Killer Cans. A War Boss he's a War Bob rather. It's a War Boss on bike. 8 Mega Knobs, and 2 more units of 4 Squighog Boys. That's 3 into Squighog Boys, 3 units of Mega Knobs, 3 units of Killer Cans, 2 Battle Wagons toting around all the goodness. It's a pretty lean list, and Makari is going to give it all a 6-up feel no pain, even though they're mechanized units. It's kind of cute. It's kind of you can tell he's trying some things out here. It's very lean on the obsec, but the punch is hellacious.
I like the throwback here, the retro, the Battle Wagons and the Killer Cans.
I like the 3x3 Killer Cans. I actually really like them. I think people underestimate them.
Y'all know I'm a big fan of the Mega Knobs. I think they're very versatile.
That is so many Mega Knobs.
And they punch hard. They can get a bunch. They can get a ton of attacks. You can buff them up. People have kind of forgotten about how aggressive they are, and so I think that it may catch some people kind of mispositioned and then putting their models back in the box.
Yep.
Well, I also feel like it's a bit of a meta pick because there's got the right toughness into a lot of different Tau options. It gets there quickly. And in addition, he's got a huge amount of multi-damage into the Custodes matchup. So I feel like he's teching for both of those. But I know he was experimenting with a similar kind of list in the old mission pack, and he thought it wasn't quite time. So interesting to see if he thinks if it's time now. The only bit I'm holding out on, Mega Knobs in a Battle Wagon. Mega Knobs going down in points especially. I think they're just good at the moment. Killer Cans, we will see. Maybe he's a genius. Maybe it's not their time yet either.
See, you thought what their time is it their time or not? But is the player going to manifest? Is the pilot going to be it their time? And that's these are, as you know, this is one of the players that you can look for some exciting things and also novel list building. Which is
I feel like
we have
Mark
here.
Perry's a guy that he's one of those guys that can make a window. He could put up the window.
Yeah, he's just gonna he's gonna jump through it.
There could be some experimental choices here, but that's actually what crafts is how the metas get attacked and formed is people making experimental choices and willing to take that risk and put their metal against other people at big old events like this.
Yeah, these are the real heroes of the meta right here. People like Mark Perry bringing 3x3 battle cannon or killicans.
Wait a second.
Hold on. There's the next gentleman.
Sorry. There's another hero of the meta. I will let you go over this one.
So right. This gentleman's name is Horton Dotton. You may have remembered him as being one of the perennial top table gentlemen that I remember in my head when like Reese was on Signals reading out top guys in the ITC in like mid 7th edition and stuff. Horton Dotton was the name that was always in my head.
You're saying the mid 70s.
Could have been early 8th edition as well. I can't quite remember. He's playing Sisters. He's playing Order of Our Martyred Lady, or UML as the acronym comes out. That's joy. He's got a patrol. He's got 2 patrols and a battalion. Now, if you can read the screen right now, you'll see a word underlined at the end. Hold fire. I'll tell you why. He's got Morven Vile. He's got a Canoness. He's got Junith. He's got 3x5 Sisters. He has a Preacher, a single Mortifier, single Pennant Engine. Into the next patrol. He has Ethereal Stern and Kygnal. He has the Triumph of St. Catherine, another Canoness, another 5 Sisters, another Preacher, single Mortifier, single Pennant Engine. The last patrol, Inquisitor Karamazov, Celestine, Canoness, 5 Sisters, a Preacher, a single Mortifier, and a Pennant Engine. This is Super Friends. This is the most Super Friends things I've seen in like since Index 8th edition. I love it. I love it to death. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if the criminal is an absolute like genius, or if this is like hot garbage. But I
think it's a bit of a flex.
It.
Like, hey, other armies can't take all these characters and all these combinations. We're gonna do it.
I almost deleted the rest of the show, boys, when I got to this, and we're just gonna talk about this for an hour. Like,
we can't top this.
2, 3. I'm just counting 4. I mean, you're taking Assassinate against him, right? And you just like just riding the 15 in pregame.
Yeah, like can't not get a character. In any phase, we can't not.
He's got 13 characters. 13. Most of them toughness 3. 13 characters. He's got 6 paint engines, 3 of each. Bunch of sisters. I think his Order of Our Martyred Lady just to get a stupid amount of miracle dice and just like get his own 15 on that secondary, right? At least that's my thinking.
Yeah.
This list, it will. I think when you telegraph, what your opponent should be taking for at least, they already have a secondary picked out for themselves. You've given them another secondary. You've created an interesting game for yourself.
I can preface that though, because I'm a player right now, especially because I'm playing GSC with the way I'm playing them right now. I've told you guys, and I actually find that Assassinate is a trap, even when you have a lot of them, because for me, the way I'm playing too, like I will sometimes give you something that I know you're going to take. Like if I have 15 points in vehicles or something, you're going to bring it down because, I got to kill vehicles, right? But the moment you do that, you are giving me the power to deny you those points. So I have control over, am I willing to sacrifice this character to give you 3 points? Do I need these 3 points or not? So it kind of gives them more control over that. That's the reason I like the Super Friends style, because people are often going to take that Assassinate against you, and it gives you that kind of control over the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, can you see this gentleman winning games without having to use? I mean, he's legitimately got like 3/4 of his points.
You never know.
What's holding his objectives?
Faith in the Emperor is holding the objectives, Adam.
The Emperor, yes.
If you have not figured that part out yet,
it's fair. I expected to see Sacrosanct in this list, because as soon as you can bodyguard all these things at the same time, things can start to get awkward. Like they can actually start to get awkward, especially on player place terrain, which is what Frontline Gaming predominantly uses. So yeah, I'm going to be tracking how Horton does, like round by round. I'm like,
curious.
What's he going into? It's one to watch, guys, just because it's so spicy.
Nergal Matt, good to see you. Tasty, good to see you. KR Quinn, checking in the chat. Really appreciate those comments and showing the support. Thank you very much. And again, if you're listening to this after the fact, we do this live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern is when we kick it off. Maybe come join us next time if you haven't already. So, okay, we've run through the factions. We've looked at a couple of lists that are standout lists. Obviously I don't know if they're indicative of the meta or, meta cutting list. But with what you know, who do you think's or what faction do you think is winning this thing?
Go ahead, Adam. You got him. You
Do
got
we
one in
have
mind. I
to?
can tell.
Well, I'm going to pick a Tau player to win. I think probably a Tau player is going to win. Yeah. Even though there's 11 less of them, I'm going to pick Tau to win this one.
Well, you got to think the Custodes players have to go through each other. There's they're not. It's
true,
almost like
it's
mathematically impossible for them not to have to go through each other. It's just what round do they go through each other? Could be round 2.
True.
Your round 3 to 9 could be a weird trajectory. I mean, Tau's a good seller. I mean, I'm not trying to talk you out of your pick or anything, but you know, it's not out of the realm of reasonability is what I'm saying for your pick.
That's fair. Well, they're the second most represented faction. It's not like I pulled that out of my absolute air. So, you know. But yeah, what do you boys pick?
What are you feeling, Paul?
That's tough. I'm gonna say Drukhari get this one. I think Drukhari. People have forgotten that the Drukhari are still as strong as they are, and they're going to be so worried about getting shot by a rail cannon or some smart missile systems or unleashing the lions that they're going to forget that Power from Pain lets people assault on turn 2. So, you know, it's going to be a rough match.
Mm-hmm. You know, the more I look at Mark Perry's list, the more I like it into this field. I'm going to go with Orcs.
Beautiful. Love it.
I'm purposely not picking Custodes.
I think we all did that. I think we all purposely not pick Custodes. If they're not first, they're probably 2nd through 5th.
Yeah.
Wolf Priest Carl says Space Wolves definitely winning this thing. I like that consistency. But hey, Space Wolves still. I mean, people are playing them and people are winning with Space Wolves. It's one of those factions it's so under the radar. That once you find yourself in that round 5 situation playing a Space Wolf, might kind of get caught out there like we were talking about with the other list.
Maybe.
Especially in the hands of some of these players we know they've been competing for best Space Wolf faction over this last year. They've really shown themselves to be great generals.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to chug along, my good men. What's up next?
Go.
I do want to mention that this is a Cherokee Open. Tune in. See how it's going on the Frontline Gaming Network. It's one of their tournament series. You should definitely, they put on fun tournaments. If you haven't made it to one yet, the same folks who run the Las Vegas Open. Maybe check the schedule and try to get to the
I am so miffed that I can't go to this one. I've had to leave the United States for a couple of weeks, but I really wanted to be at this one because the resort looks phenomenal. You had
to leave the United States for a couple of weeks.
They asked me to leave.
Yeah. They did. They were like, "Time's up. Get out of here." Don't let me in for 3 months at a time. So I had to bounce out this weekend, the weekend that is on. But it's a phenomenal resort. It's going to be a real featured keystone event for Frontline Gaming moving forward. Keep your finger on it. It sounds like it was going to be a phenomenal time for all involved.
Next tournament we're going to talk about here. This is a team tournament. This is the International Team Tournament for Northampton, England. Not even going to guess where that is.
England,
because
London.
We always catch beef.
It's in Northampton.
It is north of Hampton.
It's exactly spot on.
Or actually north of Hampton.
It says Northampton
is a place.
Yeah.
Here we go. 295 players.
Suburb of London.
59 5-player teams, 6 rounders, or for this one, and this it's going to be maybe we'll diagnose like what the faction breakdown is after we read them all and see maybe how they get divided amongst the teams. But that may be why some of these factions seem a little spiked more than normal.
So as many people know, there's a lot of rules in teams events that aren't rules elsewhere. In this teams event, I can tell you right now, it's a one of. You can only take a faction or a codex once, and that not being a supplement, that's a codex. So only one Space Marine per 5-person team, only one Custodes per 5-person team. So the max amount you can have in any one faction slot is 59.
59 Custodes.
Yeah. So how much there is if you see a 36, which is how many Custodes there are, that means 36 teams took Custodes. You see 11 for Sisters, 11 teams took Sisters. So if you think about it like that, it's a lot easier to get your head around.
60% of the teams took Custodes.
Yeah, for sure. And do you know if they considered like Dark Angels and Blood Angels to be Space Marines?
No, Space Marines is one book. Dark Angels and Space Wolves can't coexist in the same lineup.
Okay.
It's what Space Marines
Interesting.
is a one of.
I know there's a couple team
So-
tournaments that allowed them separately. That kind of got a little because you could actually bring 5 Marines, which in this bit I don't know if you
5
want
Marines
to,
if you
but
wanted to.
yeah. Okay, curious.
But
Now-
yeah, if you
now
run down the
let's clarify
stats,
that.
Dustin,
do it.
we'll see if we can pick it apart.
Mm-hmm. So the Imperial Superfaction, we have 1 Imperium, which is Knights and Admech, 11 Sisters, 36 Custodes, which means only a little over half the teams took Custodes, which is a little surprising. 12 Admech, 7 Astra Militarum, 16 Grey Knights, and 11 Imperial Knights. Over the Space Marine Superfaction, 15 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 5 Blood Angels, 2 Ultras, 4 Salamanders, 4 Black Templar, 5 Raven Guard, 4 White Scars, 2 Imperial Fists, 1 Iron Hand, and 3 Death Watch for a total of 47.
Clean sweep. I think that's every single one represented.
Yeah, that means that there's actually more teams have a Space Marine than they do Custodes. Think about that for a second. It's true. That's crazy to think about. To be like, in my opinion, I think. All right, so the Chaos Superfaction, we have 4 Chaos Soup, 2 Chaos Space Marines, 16 T-Suns. I like seeing that. 18 Death Guard. That's also not surprising. 5 Demons and 3 Renegade Knights. Then in the Xeno Superfaction, there are 17 Necrons, 14 Orcs, and 23 Tau. Still really heavily represented, too. Hive Mind Superfaction, 2 Hive Mind, 16 Tyranids, mostly probably Crushers, great in teams, and 5 GSC. You are true heroes. Eldari Superfaction, 4 Mixed Eldari, 24 Drukhari, 5 Harlequins, and a single Assyriani. So the faction podium, again, is Custodes at 36, Drukhari at 24, and Tau at 23. I do want to say, too, again, but that means Space Marines at 47. Like, obviously, different factions within the Space Marines, but that means 47 teams have Space Marines, and only 36 have Custodes.
Correct. Although I'm going to coin a phrase now. It's called the Custodes Cliff. Because the cliff you go off as soon as you look at Custodes if they're first. Because there's about 12. There was 11 lists in the first event. There's 12 lists of difference between them and the next placed faction. We're going to call that the Golden Cliff, everybody at home.
The Golden
Spread the
Cliff.
word. Golden. You go Custodes in first place, then you go off the Golden Cliff, and then there's the next faction.
Well,
it's
and
ridiculous.
what I'm seeing in a lot of these lists, picking the factions and seeing what has the higher number than the other, you got a lot of teams that are like, we need some bricks. We need some things that are just going to be hard to shift in these team games. And so, we're trying to insulate ourselves from bad matchups. Like, we don't have to score all the points. We just have to get a win, get the W's out of this.
Well,
and so I think that's really influenced a lot of list design.
And that's where you see all these really good role play lists come to the fore.
Mhm.
Things like Dark Angels, things like Death Guard and T-Suns, things like Necrons that aren't always great at getting a win, but they grind out something close. Either it's them up or them down. Doesn't matter. It's going to be close. It's not going to be a blowout. You see them get a lot more agency in team events, and I love to see it.
So, role playing the list of someone like dressed as a Space Marine, or someone that has gone to a tavern for adventuring.
Exactly
Rolling
right.
for initiative.
Love it.
Fantastic. But you do see it. You see that middle band. You got the top factions representation at team events, which will usually be the best factions in the game. But then you get this thick middle band of stuff that usually might not even be mid tier in singles, but they get this whole boost of strength in teams because they can just dodge that 1 or 2 horrific matchups. Interesting to see. Grey Knights, Grey Knights, T-Suns, Death Guard, Dark Angels, Necrons, and Tyranids, all kind of fitting into that middle band. Sorry, Orcs as well, of that 14 to 18 list band, where you just got a phenomenally good role player. They're in the top 5 lists in the game, but they're not one of the top 3.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the team makeups and lists and see how they've chosen to
Beautiful.
I'm always interested in
tackle
seeing-
this obstacle.
So, so seeing as we were doing 2 team event guys, and I didn't have a huge amount of time. Well, I had a lot of time because I did 4 events, but I didn't have enough time to break down all the lists. So I just gave myself
We're
a
running
little
short of time
anecdotal.
on the show. We got to
That's right.
It's an hour show.
I gave myself a little anecdotal paragraph about each of the lists in the team. First team I looked at was Pork Pie Gaming because the name was hilarious, and I saw their lineup and thought that's about as good a lineup of factions as you could have in a 5-person team. We've got Custodes, we've got Tau, we've got Orcs, we've got Admech and Drukhari. If you were going to pick a top 5 list, if you have the right players, that's probably the top 5. Orcs, debatable, and Admech, debatable. You could swap them out for different role players as you'd need, but here we go. The Custodes list is Emperor's Chosen. It's a Custodes good stuff list. 9 bikes, small Larish unit, Praetor Plate and Vexilla. A Spicy Inquisitor for some secondary goodness, probably. That being my assumption there. That was in there to give them a... To give them to give them some opportunity to play some different secondaries. Yeah, exactly. Next up, we've got Tau. This is a Borkan list, a battalion. I call this a Custode Hunter list. It's got many single good units, a medium crisis unit with airburst, a single Riptide, a single Hammerhead, a 3-man broadside unit, MSU Crude Hounds, stealth suits, and 2 Fish of Furies, that being 2 units of breaches with accompanying Devilfish.
I found this. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it is. So, Paul, you're aware of what Borkan does, yeah, my man?
I can pull it out for you if you need me to, but no, I just want to talk about the idea of Tau actually hunting Custodes. Like, do you want to put those 2 lists against each other, or do you want to save your Tau to like try to get max somewhere else?
So the Borkan, of course, have the stratagem to ignore invuln, and of course you have a bunch of different units this gentleman can use it on. I'm assuming that's why he's got of course the broadsides. That's why I've got the Hammerhead, who already ignores invulns, and you double down with having the Riptide do it as well when you want to. That means that so what I think is you want that signal to your opposition team that they could beat Custodes if they go into them, and therefore it's the psychological effect more than the actual matchup that I think does the damage.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
It's good into Crusher as well, so I definitely agree with you with that. That it's really good into Custodes, and you're kind of putting the pressure on. It's Tau is already an army that you're going to have trouble pairing into as it is. And I feel like one of the good ones to pair into it right now is actually Dark Angels, to be honest.
Yes.
Because you sit back and get your points. It's like one of the best blunt instruments to put into Tau. But one of the lists you can sometimes kind of take that risk is Custodes. But this is a list that's like, I don't think I want to do that because it's a lot riskier into this one. Because a lot of Tau are doing the Tau Sept. But once you see Borkan and you see these hammerheads and broadsides with railguns that can ignore invulns, like, okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
Exactly right.
So I think you're spot on with what they're doing with that. It makes pairing so much harder because again, Tau is already hard to pair into, and this makes 2 of the lists that normally you'd look at it like, yeah, it's a toss up. To nope, don't want that.
Exactly right. Next up, we have Orcs. This is a free Buddha list. It's mostly Dakar. 2 units of Deathcopters, 3 of each of the good buggies, that being the Scrapjets and the Rucker Trucks. It's got a bunch of MSU Commandos and Storm Boys with 2 planes. I thought that was quite good, and I like the fact that he's got a list with 2 planes in it because of the next list. This is Admech. It's a Mars All-Comers. 2 big Ranger Bricks, 1 small Infiltrator unit, 1 big and 1 small Rostalker unit, 3 single Ballistari, 2 planes again, and 1 Scorpius Disintegrator. I like the duality of having two plane lists because they give you some options of playing offensively and defensively, or pinning people who aren't good into planes. Like you've got an all melee Drukhari list that doesn't have any like Hellions. Sick. Take one of our 2 plane lists. You'll never charge them. They'll stay there all game. The last list here is a real space raid. This is a Strife, Blackhearts, and a Prophetess of Flesh with a spicy auxiliary detachment. It's pretty much Drukhari good stuff. It's a bit weird, and it has 2 Ravagers. It's got 2 5-man grotesque units which make up the core, with a bit of MSU around it, and a cheeky Drazar in the auxiliary. That's the 5. That's the matchup. That's the spread there, guys. Custodes, good stuff.
We've seen Ravagers start creeping their way into more list, which is interesting. Is a nice response. It's got to be a response to the beefier things we're seeing out there. Dr. Jazz says, "Where can I find some info on how team events work? Do you choose who you play? This sounds amazing. I hate going to events by myself. Team events are spectacular. They're so fun. I'm a huge fan of team events, and there are a few different team formats out there. Depending on where you are, there may be one that's closer to you, but a lot of these team events, they'll work on a kind of a system of putouts to where you put out a list, then your opponents put out a couple of lists for you to choose to who that list will face. There's different formats. They're pretty exciting. They add a little drama, a little suspense, but you're all in it together. The team, the fact that you can kind of win and lose as a team in this event this activity that is typically seen as a solo thing brings a whole nother level, and it is amazing. I highly encourage people to check out team events if they have not already.
Going to a team event with people you like to hang out with and play with
Yes.
is the greatest thing in 40K. It is like the pinnacle of 40K in my opinion. It is just so much fun. It is
Agree.
tactical. It's fun. I can't say enough good things about it. I
Yep.
play 40K for team events. Like when I go to single events, I'm going to single events to test my team list,
To practice
to
for the
practice my
team
team
events.
list.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's talk about this next team. So I pulled this one out because in my mind, this was the most stacked team at the event. This is Dice Down, guys. They've got Custodians again, Empress Chosen. This is a hard skew to keep you up at night. It's got 9 bikes, 2 Caladius, a small unit of Venatari, and Achilles to keep you honest, as playing like the linebacker for the Caladius or being an offensive unit. And then he has 2 detachments of that, so he has 2 bike captains in addition. So that's a total of 11 melter bikes, essentially. Small unit of Venatari to come in from reserve if he wants, or to play a few objectives. Like 2 Caladius sitting on the backfield being bodyguarded by the Achilles probably. This is a very, very lean list, and it's like built to end your day. Next up, we have a Tau list, which is Tau Sept. This is another hard skew to make you cry. 2 units of 5 Crisis, 2 singles, and 1 3-man broadside unit, totaling 5 of the bastards. He's got MSU Kroot and Kroot Hounds. Then he has 2 units of cell suits with homing beacons to make the Alpha Strike real nasty, real bad. That being is an ability to deliver the Crisis suits very effectively and very early. This is a very savage list, and possibly exactly those 2 lists tell you what the difference between team lists and singles lists are, because you take out all the fluff, all the fat goes out, and you just put in lean brutality and stack it up. Next
Yeah,
up,
I think that that Tau list might even hold its own in singles events.
It will. It might get outpointed. I think things like GSC would love to see that list, because you're like, I've got enough units and enough things in reserve that I can just outpoint you for like 3 or 4 turns. But like as a Marine player, that thing is a nightmare. Absolute damn nightmare. Next up, we got Nids. This is a Crusher Stampede of Leviathan. Of course, it's exactly what you expect. Not even going to go into it. Then we have GSC. Now, I'm gonna. This is good. This is a good heavy MSU aggro. It's impassioned and industrial affinity. Almost entirely infantry, bar 2 Goliaths and 2 small Jackal units. 3 fatty Acolyte units. That being they're all tricked out with as many special weapons as they can. 2 big Neophyte units, the same, tricked out with every special weapon they can have. 2 big Gene Stealer units. And this is a really good all-rounder. It's just built to get the points. I feel like this is a good list into that Tower list we just mentioned.
This is a list that, when it decides to do damage to you, it can table some lists. Like it puts out so much damage, and a lot of people won't expect it to. Those, like the fatty, not just the Acolyte units, but the Neophyte units. I don't think people realize how much damage they actually do when they get crossfire and exposed.
When I was testing with the Art of War guys, I was losing 5 up invulnerable save, 5 up feel no pain, baby transhuman, Crusader bricks to 2 squads. Like as soon as they got exposed, which the 2 small Jackal units are in there to get exposed for the Neophytes. The Neophytes pop up, clear every screen you've got, or all your screens get cleared turn 1 by the Stealers, and then you just cop Acco units every turn of the game. Just bang, bang, bang.
I'm assuming he has like a Primus in there too. I didn't see the.
Oh yeah,
HP,
it's got all
so they're re-rolling ones to hit and wound. Like it's just that they will slap anything they want. It's crazy.
I mean, it's squishy as hell. But like we said about even GSC prior to the mission change, they're one of the best secondary getters armies in the game. They'll get secondaries all day. Lastly, we have a Lucius list. This is another big skew. This is big bricks galore. It's got 6 big bricks of rangers with MSU all around it to make and some secondary getters. Like he's got some deep striking units. He's got some bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere, but 6 big bricks, so 120-ish odd infantry in that list. And that makes up what I think is the most stacked list. So to summarize, we've got a hard skew Empress Chosen Custodes. We've got a hard skew Tau Daka list. We have a hard skew Crusher Stampede, because there's a Crusher Stampede. It is a hard skew. We have an all-rounder GSC and a hard skew AdMech. Like, it's pretty... When you see that in a team's list, you just assume these are guys who are confident with their pairings, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. They know exactly what they're doing with their pairings, for sure.
Couple of things here with the AdMech list. We've seen those bricks come back, which was what they were like in the very beginning, which I'm both happy and sad to see. Happy because I like the way that looks and it's fun to play with, and you feel like you got a lot going on the table. But sad because it means I have to pay more Rangers. And
it's interesting to see so many teams taking the AdMech too. Like it's in a 5-man team. Like in an 8-man team, I can see that. In a 5-man, it's a little surprising.
I mentioned Drukari earlier that people have forgotten about. You could easily just sub out, like if you dubbed in me saying Admech with everything I said for Drukari,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Agree.
Like just people have gotten a little bit blindsided by the new hotness and have kind of forgotten about some of these incredibly powerful things that have all the tools.
I've been calling them the meta wild card. Like they are the wild card in the meta. That people seem to have forgotten a lot of what it does. Exactly what Paul said. So yeah, I love seeing them more prevalent now, especially in some of the top teams.
Now that's not to say that these new codexes, they definitely make a splash. They absolutely do for several reasons. People are not necessarily up on all their tricks yet. They don't know what everything does. They don't know how to plan. They don't they may not know what their deployment or their real movement range, overall threat range of things are. They're going to make an impact, and they are good, right? But there's a lot of good stuff out there. So if you're frustrated with, maybe you feel like you have to take some of that new stuff, go deep into your own codex, which is what we see a lot of these players are doing, and that's playing out in the data that we're seeing here. It's pretty exciting.
Exactly right. On to the third event, gents. Unless you guys want to make a call, it's very hard to call team events.
This is hard to make a call. I think
Teams is hard to call.
Yeah. So without knowing the actual makeup of the actual players themselves, it's very difficult to make a call on the team. But the team events, they are. I don't want to say they're that anything can happen, because skill of the pilot still plays out. The preparedness for going into the team tournaments still plays out. But they're just fun. So don't let the fact that we're not calling a winner mean that we're not engaged and care about what's happening at the weekend. That's one thing we will maybe go back and check on and see how it all shook out. The next event, like I said, the third event. I think we have an event after this we might even talk about. This is, I'm going to say, what is that? Is that 7 GT Valencia from Valencia, Spain, going all the way around, halfway around the world to Spain. In Valencia.
Love it.
192 players, 32 teams of 6. It's a 5-round event.
Another team event. I love these. These are awesome to see.
Yeah.
All right, so the breakdown here, we got an Imperial Super Faction. There are 2 Imperium, 8 Sisters, 25 Custodes, so a higher rate of Custodes, the teams on this one, without a 32 teams, 25 of them having them. 12 Admech, 5 Astra Militarum, 17 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Over the Space Marine Super Faction, 5 Dark Angels, 7 Space Wolves, outnumber the Dark Angels, which is a little surprising in team events. I like seeing that too.
And maybe a difference. We may be seeing a trend here where they're slanting more towards aggressive than defensive.
Yeah. Well, when we see 2 Blood Angels, 1 Ultramarine, 1 Salamander, 3 Black Templar, 2 Iron Hands, and a Death Watch, I think you're right on that for sure.
Look at this. Like, what? Defense? Best defense, great offense.
Not. You know what? It goes even further. Chaos Super Faction, 4 Chaos Soup, 0 Chaos Space Marine, 17 T-Suns to 9 Death Guard. And 3
Man, I got to get to Spain.
That's awesome. It's a completely different dynamic in this team tournament. Yeah. It's great. Xeno Super Faction, 11 Necrons, 10 Orcs, and only 2 Tau.
I'll tell you right now, boys, something to know about team events. There's sometimes a very long lead time for list cutoff. The new Tau book is not in play at this event.
Okay. There you go. That's important to know for the overall stats and what that really means. But there is a trend here with these lists that I think we figured it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. The Hive Mind Super Faction, 2 Hive Mind, 14 Tyranids, 4 GSC. Eldari Super Faction, 1 mixed Eldari, 14 Drukari, 3 Harlequins, and 1 Asuriani. So the faction podium, again, Custodes topping it out at 25.
What do we go off? The Golden Cliff, and then
Grey Knights and T-Suns at 17 up the Golden Cliff. I have to give Adam props for it. So there you go.
Yeah, it's the thing now.
Cliff, the Grey Knights and T-Suns at 17, and then Drukari and Nids at 14. So Custodes obviously like making most of the teams here as well, more so than the other one. Tau not being in the mix makes sense to not have that many of them.
Really weird to see what's in second place on the podium faction at the faction podium. 17 Grey Knights and T-Suns. That would not have been a prediction. They may be 3rd, 4th, or 5th most likely, but both of them being equal, it's very interesting.
I would have guessed. Sorry, if you give me like 6 guesses, I would have guessed Grey Knights. I would not have guessed
Yeah,
Thousand Suns.
yeah, yeah, exactly right. What do you think that is? Any reasons?
Maybe they just know their meta. Like it could be if they know their meta. Grey Knights, I feel, are still decent in team matchups because they don't auto lose games because Purifying Ritual is still a thing. They will get points. So like in team events, it doesn't matter if you lose by a little bit. And something that Grey Knights can do is when they lose, they will lose by a little bit. They won't lose big. That's big in team events.
This is my assumption. Grey Knights are real bad into Tau and even worse into Custodes. But one of those two isn't here. So they've only got one horrific matchup to dodge. It's a teams event. Just don't put your Grey Knights into the Custodes. They're going to do well. They'll just do well into the rest of the field. So I think
they'll eat up probably Tyranids. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, if you can dodge Crusher, dodge Crusher. But even then, that's a list you're going to. That's a game you're going to get points out of.
Yep.
Whereas, like, you play into Custodes, Grey Knights, like, can't kill them. Can't kill them again. It's real bad.
There you go. Do you want to talk about a couple of the teams? Maybe we'll see if it plays out in what we have for the kind of the synopsis of these team lists.
Lovely enough to hit up some of my friends in the Spanish arena, and they gave me the hot tip on 2 of the top teams in attendance. This first one, Feel No Pain 7+ was the number 1 ranked team in Spain in 2021, so the most recent team championship of that region. They're playing, of course, T-Suns is their first one. It's Cult of Duplicity. This is MSU T-Suns. 4 5-man rubrics, 2 smaller Scarab Cults, 2 5-man Scarab Cults, and 1 10-man to take all the buffs. Rounded out with 2 units of 4 Spawn.
I was about to say, where's the Spawn? Come on, Spawn!
Yeah, boy. This is a pretty good list. I like this list quite a bit. It's a little bit on the slow side, but Cult of Blister gives you that flexibility with the redeploy. Usually, when you see this many Scarab Cults, we think Cult of Time, but I do really like this for the team event, having the Duplicity, having the Jank, which just means the matchup pairing into them becomes a little bit harder. Next up, we have Necron list. This is Mephrit. This is pretty cool. This is Silent King. Bring a mixed, well-rounded list. 2 big bricks of warriors. Finally, we're seeing one of these things that people talk about but rarely see. He's got a 20-man brick of Flayed Ones. This is fantastic.
Wow. The Flayed Ones have been in a lot of Necron chats about, they're so awesome, and they go so. But I'm like, okay, where are they? Who's taking them? Where is
exactly? Exactly. He's got a brick of 6 Scorpex to be the counter assault and backline fire support with 2 Annihilation barges, which I thought was cute, and then 3 heavy destroyers. So think about how this plays on the map, boys. You've got 20 Flayed Ones, 2 units of 20 warriors being backed up by the Silent King. You got explosive counter assault. You got a little bit of fire support in the back. It seems slick. It seems good. I'm not sure why it's Mephrit is the only question in my head. It feels like this could be better as a couple of other things. It must have a plan. I can't quite remember what Mephrit gets apart from the extra rend when you're close up. But you have to be
it's
so
the extra
close.
Gren. And maybe just painted his stuff green, man.
Isn't that the one that'll make warriors good in close combat too?
That's Novok.
That's
the choppy. Yeah, I mean, Mephrit's they're still fine in combat. Like with Silent King, just damn near everything's good in combat. So maybe that's what he's going for, just the extra DACA, or maybe he's after the mortal wounds because I know they have a mortal wound strat, but it's a max of 3. I wish they had FAQ to a max of 6 like everyone else. As it sits right now, still a good list. Next up, we have Dark Angels. This is a defensive skew, as you would expect from a Dark Angels list in a team's environment. 3 bricks of Termies with a couple of multi-mounted attack bikes and speeders. It's just going to go get points. It's got Lazarus in there to add protection from mortals. And if you look at what this gentleman has picked the meta really well, because 17 Grey Knights and 17 T-Suns, so instantly gets more. This is hard to break down. Okay, it's custom. It's a custom to toil, industrial affinity, myriad cult, and toxic agent. Dustin,
Toxin
what the crap? Why does he get 4 traits?
Please, we need an interpreter.
I get the interpreter. Sure, don't worry, I got you covered. Custom to toil is the mini transhuman, so your entire army can only be wounded on 3 up. Industrial affinities ignore all modifiers and industrial weapons. The myriad code is what the whole thing is called. And the toxin agents is your melee auto wounds on 6s except against monsters and vehicles. It's actually the best way to run if you're running a myriad cult. It's the best way to run it with if you're running Gene Stealers bricks, because the Stealer bricks really benefit from the toxin agent. A lot of people do Impassion because it's +1 to hit, but because Stealers already hit on 2s, that doesn't help them at all. But auto wounding on 6s, that can make a big difference, right? So that's why they did that there. And it looks like he took the 2 Steeler bricks, so that makes perfect sense of why he did that one. I think are you there, Adam? We only lost Adam.
We may have. Maybe we'll get him back
Sure.
in here.
I am.
I
So
can keep going over this, or you want to go over it? Nope, he's
Can you
here.
hear
Yep.
we can now. Thanks for bearing with us in the chat. Again, remember, this is a live show. If you're listening to this after the fact, we did record
Hello,
this
hello.
live, played it live, and we got all the trappings of being live. So thanks for your patience with us, and also thanks for the folks in the chat being patient with us and supportive. And yeah, thanks for Tasty Meffert, extra 3-inch range and neg 1 AP at half
Perfect.
range on shooting. That's what was mentioned there,
Which
which
need
is
you
good.
guys, chat.
And so, look, if everyone anticipated this Storm Bolter meta, you know, everyone is prepared to get in there and mix it up at that mid range, which is. Do you think they all have like a group chat? Like every team's in a group chat? Just
well, I
is
mean, the
this what
scouring
shows up every?
is actually going to be an important one to do. So yeah, for sure, everybody's just got to run in the middle, hold it there, and have this mid-range bolter fire. Let's go.
Let's do. You want to run down the Drakari list? For the
Sure, I
trying to round out
can
the
go there.
teams? Yep.
So unless
hello.
Adam's
You
back,
guys got me?
yeah, we got you. Can you hear us? You good? I don't think you can hear us.
Beautiful.
Oh no, there you go. Okay.
All right. Drakari list. This is a real space raid of Strife, Blackheart. Okay, never mind. Go on
Popular
without me,
choice.
boys.
Oh no, we can hear you. Yeah, go for it.
No.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Strife, Blackheart, Artists of Flesh, pretty much what you'd expect. 3 4-man grot units grotesque unit make up the core. 2 squads of incubi for surgical larger Hellion squads. And once again, 2 Ravagers make an appearance. So all of a sudden, we don't have an outlier, we have a trend.
Mhm.
And then lastly, we have a Grey Knights list. This is Blaze of Victory, which is quite interesting because usually we'd see Pressing Brethren. This is a bit of a this is a usual suspects list. He's trying to kind of make the old build go again, which is what I expected here. Now that you can only have to dodge the Custodes matchup, what is old is new again. 3 Dread Knights, 1 Grandmaster Dread Knight, 25 Interceptors, and the obligatory supporting cast. Still a very good list in teams.
Yep, for sure. I like this team. It's a very well-rounded team. Go ahead and go into the next team there, Adam. What we got to delay on you, so we know you can cover this for us. 'Cause I'm curious to see what the next team looks like
I'll
too.
just smash it out then.
Do it.
So we got a Tresmus. These are the hosts of the event, so they're putting on the Valencia GT for everybody. We've got a custodial list. This is Emperor's Chosen. It's the 9 bike build. It's very similar to the previous bike build. 2 units of Sagittarium instead of the 3 regular. The 3-man unit, a single Alaris and a unit of Wardens backed by 3 there's 3 singles best detachment HQs, that being Praetor Plate, Dawn Eagle Jet Bike, and Trajan, of course. We've got a Nids army. This one is Crusher Stampede. This is a harder skew than usual, as it packs a Heridian. It saves points by only being a patrol detachment and still packs a Democharon, a Hive Tyrant, a Harpy, and 6 Hive Guard. I think this is probably better than the regular Crusher in teams, but here we are. Next up, we have the GSC list. This one is a custom. Again, it's a custom to Toil. Deep Supplies, which I'm not quite sure what that is, and Industrial Affinity. This is more MSU than it seems. It's going to go 1 fatty Acco unit and 1 big Neophyte unit, 1 small and 1 medium and 1 max Jinsteel unit, a big unit of Ridge Runners, a max and a medium unit of Jackals with all the supporting cast of characters. It's kind of a list that's really varied in its approach, so I'm not quite sure if it's meant to be MSU or it's meant to be something else, but that is what it is. Then we have a Drakari list. This is triple patrol, a traditional list. 2 patrols of Artists of Flesh, 1 patrol of Strife. It's a nice aggro list. I actually think it's quite good. 3 units of 5 grotesques, which is the theme of all the Drakari lists that we've mentioned on this show. 3 units of grotesques or 2 units of grotesques make an appearance in all of them. A single 9-man unit of Incubi, which is nice, and then 2 bigger units of Witches and 2 large Hellion squads, and then enough Raiders to keep the party going for everybody involved. I actually really like that Drakari list. I think it's quite good. Next up, Necrons, eternally relentless and eternal and relentless. It's a custom build. This is kind of the min-max good unit build. It's got no Silent King, 2 units of 2 units of 5 Scorpex, 3 units of Race, 3 units of Scarabs, 3 units of Heavy Destroyers, with another big unit of Flayed Ones. And Xmas in July come already. Awesome. So two teams, both packing Necron lists, both packing 20-man flayed ones. But this is a good list. It's just got all the good units in it. And then the last one is Admech. This is Mars. It's a pretty interesting little list. It's more MSU than we are used to, with very few troops, which is what is unusual about it. It's built to do secondaries well, is what I believe it's going for. It's only got one 15-man unit of Rangers, and then a couple of MSU Vanguard, 3 MSU units, 2 units of Sulphur Hounds, 2 units of MSU Taraxi, 6 Las Cannon Chickens, and 3 units of 2, and 2 Scorpius Disintegrators. And that is the lineup, boys. What do you make of it?
I love these lists too. Deep supplies for the Myriad Custom Cult is reroll 1 wound roll a phase, basically, in shooting and in close combat. So it's a free reroll, which is a nice one. But I love seeing all the Necrons in these top teams. I love seeing Admech showing up in it, and I love the fact this is something that, because I've been talking a lot of team stuff lately because I'm going to a lot of team events soon, and
can't wait. Depicon coming up soon.
Yeah, there's so much stuff coming up. And being able to bring both NIDS as a Crusher Stampede and GSC feels so good to me. I think they're both very worth taking. It's not, obviously I'm a little biased. But they're both so strong if you have a good GSC player. GSC is not something that you can say, Jimmy from the playing in your basement all the time. You never played GSC before? Put these on the table, you'll do fine. That's not an army you can do that with. But if you have somebody that is accustomed to toil, then you are in good shape with that team.
Only like 3% of the audience caught that joke, but I laughed with you.
I appreciate it, Paul. I'm going to take you as the 3% that laughed at home too, so I'm happy about that.
Look, we're actually running down a lot of 40K lists, doing a lot of information, but don't fret. If you need a little bit of a palate cleanser, hang out until the end of the show. We do a segment we call the Fuego Rapido, where we run down some ridiculous hot takes, and that's coming pretty soon. So just bear with us a little bit longer. This show may be a little bit longer than average as we run through yet another event. It's a jam-packed weekend, and look, we honestly want to, we take it seriously and want to bring some info and tournaments from all over the world. And the next one we're going to talk about is the Down Under Grand Tournament from Meadowy, New South Wales in Australia. We're going to try to get Adam back, because I know, obviously he has some insight into the players would love to get from this. But Dustin, maybe run down the list of factions that we have represented, and maybe by that time we'll get Adam back on, as we're seeing. This is a 46 player 5-round event.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. So the Imperial Super Faction, there is 1 Sister, 4 Custodes, 2 Astra Militarum, 2 Grey Knights, and an Imperial Knight. So it's nice spread there, actually, not too dominated by Custodes. Then the Space Marine Super Faction, there are 2 Ultramarines, 2 Salamanders, 1 Black Templar, 3 White Scars. White Scars really making an appearance in Australia here. Chaos Super Faction, there's a Chaos Space Marine, 2,000 Suns, 3 Demons, and 1 Renegade Knight.
And 3 Demons. That's interesting. Demons.
They're almost as many demons as there is Custodes.
Well, let's say, so 3 demons in some of the other events we've talked about wouldn't be a big deal. It's like 3 demons out of 200 players or whatever, but this is 3 demons out of 56 players or so. So what are they thinking? Is that 3 Bellicors? Like, what's going on there?
Adam, are you back? Can you give us some insight on the demon plays in Australia? Was that no, not back? Oh, he's I see. He might be typing something.
If he's back, you don't know he's back. We'll come back around to that if we need to.
We'll come back to that then. All right. So Xeno Super Faction, there are 2 Necrons, 6 Orcs, 4 Tau. That's a lot of Orcs there. I like that. See that too. Hive Mind Super Faction, 1 Hive Mind, 3 Tyranids, 2 GSC. It's really even spread across this tournament. Yeah. Eldari Super Faction, just 2 Drukhari and a Harlequin. So I think the faction podium is actually Orcs at number 1.
Has to be Orcs 6-6. Yeah. Beating out Custodes there at 4. 4
and then Demons. Tau. No, Tau at 4.
Tau. Yeah. But
Demons and Tyranids are at 3. They're very close behind that.
Demons are actually, like a solid 4th, for Demons, which is not something that we have experienced in other tournaments. So really curious as to if they figured something out there in that codex to give them some staying power. Top players in attendance for this was Chris Wright, which is former Australian number 1 in the ITC, playing Drukhari. If you want to run down that list.
Sure. I'm going to try to do this. Here we go. Everybody loves hearing me try to interpret.
Better you than me, sir. See how I pass that on?
I saw that. Yeah, I see you. I see you, Paul. All right, Real Space Raid. I'm already. What the heck is Strive? Strife? Is that what he's trying to? It's just.
It
It's
has
got to
to,
be
yeah,
Strife.
Strive.
Yeah. So that's
Yep,
just a
yep,
typo. All right, cool. That's not. That's
yeah,
not an abbreviation. That's just a typo. So
yeah.
Strife, Prophets of Flesh, and Blackheart. Blackheart. Haha,
Yep,
nailed it. So he's
you
got
got it.
a court, the Archon, Succubus, Homunculus. It's a Real Space Raid. He has to have all those. 10 Homoxites. They're actually an
Those have been
back.
coming in. We've seen the Homoxites play in. 10 is
Hello.
the biggest number. I've only seen 8
Yeah,
previously.
10 is you can't take 20 of them. That's something that people don't sometimes realize. You can only take 10 Homoxites. You can't go to 29 like the Racks can. But they have the ability to go down to a 4-up invuln at some point in the game too, which is terrifying. It's really annoying. 10 Trueborn. We don't see many Trueborn anymore either, but I still like them. And then 10 5/5 Racks, 5 Witches, 4/4 3 Grotesques, a Ravager again. So this is definitely a trend.
That's it.
That's it.
They're in the chat group. They know exactly what's up. It's like, look, if you want to have any prayer against Custodes or Crusher, just take a Ravager or 2. It's gonna help you
Hello.
level out those units.
Hello.
Am I coming through? Beautiful.
You're coming
All
through.
right.
We got you.
Oh,
we
man.
got 2x1 tails and 3 raiders. There we go. Now you can interrupt us, Adam. We're good. I got through
Beautiful.
the list. I read
right.
your chicken scratch.
What did you think of the 3 White Skies list out of nowhere? Just being like 3 White Skies in Australia.
I was hoping you could give us some insight as to the White Scars and demons that are just showing up in Australia. Like what's going on? There's so many of them.
I have no idea. I have lost control of that bizarro world. It's just so good. I love it so much. It's the unicorn. It's unknowable, unpredictable.
We have seen many things come out of this, and this is one of those, like, you can't just look at what the results, the pilots, the day, it all accumulates to what might be the best right then and there. And so seeing this list make up, some people are obviously calling some shots and want to see what happens.
Did you guys
next
call
player
the faction podium? Because it is quite
we did.
Yep, I got it.
So next player, let's go ahead and run down what Matt Morsori's list is, and then we can maybe talk about the faction podium if there's some stuff you want to add when we're calling who we think is going to win this thing.
You guys are good. Matt Morosoli is playing Tau. He's playing Fireside Enclaves, and this list is disgusting. He's got 2 patrols. He's got 2 units of 3 Crisis Bodyguard. He's got a Cold Star Commander, a Crisis Suit Commander, 2 units of 10 Breaches, 5 Stealth Suits with a Home Beacon, 2 units of 4 Kroot Hounds, 2 Devilfish to go with the 2 units of Breaches. Then he has an Enforcer Commander, 10 Kroot, and 2 more units of 5 Crisis Suits. So he has Crisis everywhere, Commanders everywhere. This thing is pus.
Crisis is where it's at. They are actually, where they, or I'm surprised there's not more Kroot there. So that's, I think he's dipped his toe into the best of both worlds here. But with heavy leaned on what is probably the most dominant list, or what will be the dominant list for the Tau.
He's gone very heavy on the mobility side of things as well. There's no broadsides to tie him down. There's no reason to stay in one place. Everything's going to move every turn. Everything's going to move around the table and be dynamic. I actually really like this style of list. I think it's really potent.
I like it. Kroot Hounds are one of the most efficient units you can bring just for like engage and moving up the field, like whatever you want to do with them. They're so good for that.
With all the variants in the list, with all of the factions represented here, we know when they got some top, stellar players. Who's your winner, faction or player? Adam, we'll start with you.
So there's only this is a New South Wales event, and there's only one Victorian in attendance, which is my home state, and that is Mr. Matt Morosoli. So I'm going for the home Vic boy, which is a bit of a cop out because he's one of the best players in the world. But
he's also playing Tau
from my home state, and he's in foreign territory. Let's go.
All right, that makes sense to me.
What do you think?
I'm looking at this field. You know what? I've been picking it before, and I'll pick it again. I think I'm going to stick with Orcs because they're top of the faction podium. Nice. Why not? Good odds. Yeah. Good odds.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for me to want to go against a Tau. Tau is my faction here. Without knowing the exact table layout or the density of terrain and things like that. The makeup,
I can tell you,
it's
player place terrain. It's player place terrain for this event.
Tau all day long. Then I think. Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. Chat, keep us honest next week as we come back to it. So now, look, we talked about a lot of 40K. Warhammer 40,000, obviously very exciting. A lot of people feel the same way, and that's why they're coming in and hanging out at these events this coming up weekend. we're going to see how we did next week. We will look back and see how, so especially some of these big old events, how things are doing. But now it's time for a segment we call the Fuego Rapido. This is a segment of the show that we don't often talk about Warhammer 40,000 in, unless it comes up in our list of questions. We give ourselves 5 topics where we just kind of rattle off what our hot takes are. As soon as the clock starts, we start talking about whatever the topic is. When that clock is finished, we stop it, move on to the next one. Never to look back, or only to look back in our direct messages about telling people this, telling how wrong we were about how we felt about whatever topic it was. Oh, the clock is gone. All right. Best Lord of the Rings movie. Now, okay, I think maybe I'm gonna talk not just Lord of the Rings. You can pick a Hobbit movie if you like, but what is your favorite Tolkien movie? Tolkien-based movie, Dustin?
You can give us the option to pick the Hobbit. We're not gonna none of them.
We need to specify that we are purposely not picking the Hobbit. I think that's what Paul is saying. We need to make sure we are.
I want everyone to know that it was not on that list.
It was not on. It was on the list to choose. We just did not choose it.
Correct.
For me, it's a little tough. I think I'm gonna go with Two Towers.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great choice. No bad choices here.
I really like the way they told the story between the battle and what was going on behind. It was really well told for me. Plus, I love the ends.
Even though the elves show up at for no reason at Helm's Deep, no elves in the book, but I didn't care.
Yep.
I didn't give it.
I didn't care. I didn't care. Like, I love elves. I love Ents, and I loved that movie. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam, you got a pick here?
Fellowship for me. It had everything.
Yeah.
It had a chase scene. It had the cute little wholesomeness of the Shire. It had what I enjoy the most was the hobbits the best bit for me was the hobbits trying to evade the wraiths, just on like a beautiful country road, and then just this messed up like demon horse with this ghost on the back of it. I loved that, the imagery, especially like the one that sticks in my head was the hobbits hiding under the overhang with the ring wraith hanging over them. The chase through what was it?
13 seconds.
The pub. Sorry, your turn, mate. You go.
Yeah. Oh, the prancing pony. No, I honestly, Fellowship I think is my favorite too. If Fellowship, like in the extended, where they brought they had the different animation for Gollum, and they brought they redid it again. Like that was awesome. Anyway, we're out of time. The Bashki 70s Hobbit movie would have counted also. Like any Lord of the Rings stuff. We could talk about there.
Love it.
So anyway, so what's the best meal in the Tolkien verse?
Ooh, the best meal.
The best meal.
It would have been the rabbit if they got to eat it. Did it even happen in the book? I'm trying to cast my mind back. Did they get to eat the rabbit in the book, or was the rabbit even in the book?
I feel
you're gonna go with an actual meal and not, because I'm saying 11sies is my favorite, because that's actually what I
eat. Oh yeah, okay. Second breakfast.
Yeah, second breakfast. Nice. You
don't even know about 11sies?
I was so literal with that. Wow, my God.
What about 11sies?
No, think about that. Probably the best meal is when they're talking about chip the glasses, crack the plates, because that's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Like that's if we're
potatoes.
The actual singular.
Do you know which it wasn't? It just in the movie, but it was what's his face's disgusting eating of the tomatoes. While Pippin sings.
That was
weird. Boromir's dad. What's his name?
That was weird.
Denethor.
Oh yeah.
Denethor.
That's the worst
sound for everybody here that was listening to this.
That's the worst meal.
That's completely hijacked the topic, and now we're going with worst meal.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you covered it. Go ahead. I don't think you've told it. You said 11sies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 11sies. 11sies is my favorite. Because again, that's probably when I have my lunch most days.
Yeah, I mean, second breakfast for me is usually kind of lunch for me. Then it's usually my favorite meal of the day, because I don't know why. Lunch is usually really fun for me to eat, because it breaks up the work day for me. So it's like, yay, I get to have a break from work and I get to eat yummy food. Yeah.
Do you think 11sies was one of the meal listed on the Urukai's menus? That's a long bow, Adam.
What?
Strung that bow together real nice. In the Urukai say meat's back on the menu. You reckon 11sies was one of the meals on that menu?
Maybe that was their 11sies.
It could be. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting topic. There's been many of essay and internet. Who's the real hero of the story? Who or what?
Ooh. Ooh.
Well, I know what Tolkien apparently said.
Really?
But what do you guys think?
I want to hear
Yeah.
what Tolkien actually said.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of discussion around Sam being the actual
hero.
hero of
Yeah.
the story. But this is especially when you go like you're looking at the Silmarillion, you're looking at all the like all the stories and how they really do all link together. Like there is connected tissue between every single one of the stories. Is the real hero of the story even in any of the movies we've seen so far, or in the more popular books?
That's fair. I would argue, if you're looking for the most complete story arc, Aragorn has the most complete story arc, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He went from disenfranchised, disenchanted with the realms of men and his place in the world, to finding himself, finding his voice, like protecting the world of men, refounding an empire, regaining his lost love. Like, what more complete story could you have for a character?
Well, it depends on what kind of person you're defining the hero as. Like, yeah, the hero that survives until the end. Or what about Boromir? He had the arc of, he started off like kind of almost like a villain to the group. Like he was, and then he sacrificed his life to save.
God,
Frodo
Sean
escape.
Bean did such a great
Sean Bean's
performance.
awesome.
It's hard not to fall in love with that character. But the character, it was true to the character. Is that the character? Especially when you see what his home life was about, and then his where he was at the time of the Fellowship, as opposed to what he was doing as the ring obviously sent you on a path of damnation, and what his real intent was, and then how it all played out right there at the final moments. Is he the hero of the story? No, but is he a hero? Yes. I don't know if we answered that. We got to come back to that.
I don't know if we did. Yeah,
I don't think we did.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay. Where's this?
How many rings of power were made for elves, dwarves, and men?
Oh, here we go. How many rings of power were made for the elves, dwarves, and men? As you add them up, that's 19.
So
yeah.
Was there more made in the Silmarillion? Was there alluded to there being more rings of power made than the ones that were gifted? Because there was 9 to men.
The elves made their own rings.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what I meant. Apologies.
Okay, you guys are cheating already. How many per race?
How many per?
So production is telling me how many. So 3 for the elves. 9 for the rings of men. 7 for dwarves.
Dwarves.
Oh,
yeah.
Well done.
I'm told well done, but I just
do you think we wouldn't know that?
That's not even a question.
Who are you talking to?
No, he's like, we didn't come to play production.
I'm done with that.
Why do we even have? Like, come on, this is
Kind of
coming
freaking
to
show
a test for us.
Kind of freaking nerd show you think this is?
I know that. I'm sorry, Chad, if we completely lost you, but we just actually had to flex on production. And I thought they were going to stump us with a question. I was like, I don't know, what show is he watching? So yeah. So should we even mention The Hobbit and your opinions on it? I guess it's a movie question. The Hobbit's movies,
the Hobbit trilogy. Yeah, the Hobbit. Yeah,
the trilogy or the book, the one.
Okay,
book?
Let me. So I know that we give a lot of grief to the Hobbit movies, the Hobbit trilogy, because Hobbit probably could have been told in a single book, or in a single movie, maybe even 2 movies. But in addition to some of the liberties that production took, such as adding Legolas in. Legolas actually could have functionally been in those battles. We don't know that he was not in those battles. So could have been there, but the movies also added in things from like the Lost Tales and the other things. So some of those stories are actual Tolkien stories, but they just weren't in The Hobbit. It didn't have anything to do with what was going on in The Hobbit.
So what's the question of, like, should we even mention it? Like, people don't think it should be part of the lore. Is that the question here? Because
yeah,
go ahead, Adam.
So controversial, Adam of the night.
Good.
I read Lord of the Rings, the novels, and then I read The Hobbit, and I didn't think The Hobbit was that great of a book. And
No,
then
because
I-
you dumped into the
and
deep
then-
end. All that
Exactly.
You
mystery.
jumped on it.
That's what people told me. People told me, Adam, you got the cart before the horse. If you read it the other way around, you would have loved the whole journey.
Hobbit's a children's story.
I had
Exactly
The Hobbit
right.
read to me
Exactly
in
right.
grade 4. That's why I loved it. My
Mhm.
teacher read
I-
it to us in grade 4.
I read the Narnia books first. That was also somebody said that was also a mistake because they actually go together quite well, those two stories. But Lord of the Rings adds to the
We're
other way.
well out of time.
We're well.
But
We
I'll
should
switch topics. I'll
Yeah.
play in the spirit of our own trappings that we've done for us here. I'll switch topics. The War Mistress coming in and says they couldn't put Tom Bombadil in the Fellowship. Poppycock.
Mhm.
Tom Bombadil is so outside, like doesn't play by the rules at all of Middle Earth. I actually have some theories on Tom Bombadil. I
There's so
believe
many
that
theories on him.
He is like Galactus. He is from the previous universe. He is one of the sole survivors of the previous universe. And I'll even go deep is that allegedly, like Tom Bombadil was the name of one of his children's toys that he had to flush down the toilet or something, or got flushed down the toilet. So left one world and went to another.
You heard it
you
here
know,
first. Tom Bombadil,
so-
the Celestial.
Is
I mean,
Galactus. Is Galactus.
in practicalities, though, how long would it have taken from any of the movies to explain what the hell Tom Bombadil is? I mean, it would have been cool to
need
just
a trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. But it would have been cool to just have him in there as like a kind of an Easter egg for people, savvy with the law.
Well,
I
in the
agree. It would have been
in
nice.
the books, when they're discussing what to do with the ring, I think I could be getting my who's and what's are wrong or whatever, but I believe Elrond's like, we'll just go give it to Tom Bombadil. Like he will, he's cool. He's not
Doesn't
affected
affect
by it. He's
Yeah.
he's just ultra powerful. We know, we don't want to go in that area. And then and Gandalf's like, he'll just forget he has it and won't care. He doesn't even. It doesn't. None of our universe, none of this matters to him. So that's why he's not in the movie, because he just literally couldn't care less about the entire drama of the movie, and explaining that in the movie I think might have been a distraction.
Question: Were any of I agree. It would have detracted more than it gave.
But yes,
to those.
I agree. Give me Bombadil, War Mistress. I agree. Give us. I'd watch two
Bombadil.
movies of Bombadil.
Yeah. Should have just been in there as an Easter egg. Like, no, don't draw attention to him. Just be like, have him dancing around in the prancing pony, like in the side view, and just be like, holy crap, that's Tom Bombadil! And everyone would have lost their minds who was in the know. Question for you guys: Were any of the Hobbit movies good? Were any of them good?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you look at them, go ahead, Dustin.
I enjoyed them. Are they as good as Lord of the Rings ones? No, but that's a pretty hard to kind of follow up on that. But and see that this is the other problem too, because we saw Lord of the Rings first. There's already the same thing with the books. You read Lord of the Rings first, and then you read Hobbit.
Fair.
It's hard to live with. It doesn't mean they're bad. It's just comparatively, it's not as good.
Remember when I said it? That I didn't care that the elves weren't at Helm's Deep and they showed up because it was just so cool and like I just went with it because it was awesome. I couldn't get that suspension of disbelief during the Hobbit movies.
It was so over the top. So in the first film, they were incompetent and got caught by everybody and just showed how much they didn't deserve to succeed because they were incompetent. As in, Bilbo was the only person who did not get caught at every opportunity to get caught. In the second film,
it's in the book.
It's a children's book. It is in the book. But this is what seeing these things highlighted to me. In the second film, they're invincible. Smaug literally destroyed the entire city, and then 7 dwarves. He cannot kill any of them in like a whole 20-minute scene. He's just like couldn't kill a damn one of them. I'm like, and this guy killed the whole thing of like, kicked out a whole city of super armored fortified dwarves. 7 and the Fellowship just clowns on the guy. I felt walking out there being like, this is a stupid movie. And then
Dragons
the third
aren't
one was just like, this is a
Take out
mess.
nature.
This is a mess.
He was sleepy.
It was, mind you, Smaug was awesome. Benedict Cumberbatch,
really,
Cumberbund knocked that out of the park.
That was really good.
Well, I think the actors all did great jobs in the roles. I just questioned some of the storyline choices and some of the inclusions of some of the story elements because I'm such a fanboy, of the. I mean, I've been reading that book for 40 years.
You have that nostalgia. You love the kind of nostalgia.
Do you guys remember in the barrel scene, escaping
Yep.
when they're in the barrels, and the escape from Goblin Town. Like
Mhm.
Cirque du Soleil couldn't have like been more athletic and agile as those dwarfs. It was
Yep.
so overdone and ridiculous. It
Yeah.
was so nuts to me. I was sitting there just like, I can't believe this is a kid's film. This is a kid's film, and this should
Yeah.
not be put anywhere close to
I-
Lord of the
I can
Rings.
see it. Well, see, the thing with me too is like the reason I know I like it is because when it comes to like medieval fantasy and all like the medieval like races like elves, dwarves, and that,
Mm.
the dwarven race, I can't stand watching them. I don't like their that's right,
Oh.
production. I don't. They're just
Oh,
they're so. I just don't like them. But I'm an elf guy. I like elves, so that the dwarves are very in
Ew.
contrast to that. So the fact that the entire I'm making production mad at this point, so I'm just gonna keep going.
I
But the
love it.
entire movie being so heavily focused on this fellowship of dwarves is just. It was
Well,
the fact that I
look,
still
and
enjoyed the
they
movie.
I hope we
s-
get more Lord of the
they
Rings, and I'm
sucked.
very anxious.
They
I'm anxious.
they
to
those-
see
sucked.
the-
They were not
those
good dwarves
dwarves
either.
sucked. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have made it past the trolls leaving the Shire. That's how bad they sucked. Like
Yeah.
they shouldn't have regained anything. They didn't deserve it. They were incompetent as hell.
That's why Bilbo was there. You know,
Yeah,
Exactly.
Bilbo.
Gandalf was like, "These dwarves suck so hard. I need to find a dude who sucks more than them to make them successful." And Bilbo just
Everyone
was like,
can hear me
"Guess
now.
what?
I just want to say, dwarves are awesome. You guys don't know
Dude,
what you're talking about.
Bilbo put that whole damn story on his back and carried them all. He's a legend. The rest of them
No.
suck eggs."
I say,
I'd
we
say
just
far
make
worse.
this- I just say we make this a 2-hour episode talking about how
Let's do it.
dwarves are awesome.
do it.
hopefully this has been a nice palate cleanser from that thick, dense block of Warhammer 40,000 we just went through, talking about the events. You know, look, there are some stellar events coming up this weekend. We hope you have the ability, and it is the right thing for you to do, to participate in them. Let us know what you're gearing up for. Let us know if you like the show. Leave some 5-star reviews. Maybe, maybe not on our opinions of the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, but on the quality of our 40K analysis. We'd love it if you would subscribe and come join us next week, either live or after the fact on the podcast aggregators. Until then, my name is Paul Murphy. Adam, Dustin, let's wrap this up.
Always a pleasure.
Good night. Love you all.
We'll see y'all next week.